China says it's ready to become the first country to land and operate a rover on Mars on its first attempt. China's first-ever Mars mission arrived in Mars orbit a few months ago and is scheduled to release its Mars lander in a few days. Here are the details. The Chinese National Space Administration, or CNSA, says its Tianwen-1 orbiter will release its Zhurong Mars rover on May 17th. The orbiter arrived in Mars orbit on February 24th, carrying with it the rover and its landing cradle. The lander will detach from the orbiter and start to descend into Mars's thin atmosphere, protected by a heat shield that's designed to also slow the lander down with its sheer bluntness. Once the lander slows down enough, a large parachute will open and the heat shield will fall away, exposing the landing cradle. The cradle's landing legs would then deploy and the parachute would detach to let the lander fall freely. The CNSA says the lander would then fire a number of rockets to slow its descent, while also keeping the lander in an upright position until it touches down. After touchdown, the lander would deploy a ramp, while the rover deploys its sensor arms and solar panels. If the mission is successful, China would become the first country to land a rover on Mars on its first attempt. The Zhurong rover is carrying 6 pieces of scientific equipment. After landing, it would survey the surroundings to study Martian soil, geomorphology, and atmosphere. It would also look for signs of subsurface water ice. If you'd like to learn more about the dozens of recent and very ambitious Mars missions, here are some more videos about what countries like China, the US, and the United Arab Emirates have been doing around Mars lately.
Following up on his plans to transport 1 million people to Mars by 2050, Elon Musk's company, SpaceX, has now declared that it will also send hundreds of satellites to Mars to provide the colonists with space internet. SpaceX is currently building a Starlink mega constellation of small communication satellites around Earth, and has already launched around 800 of these satellites into low Earth orbit. This mega constellation of satellites will eventually cover every part of Earth, and Elon Musk said it will give all people on Earth access to low-cost broadband internet. According to a recent interview with Time magazine, the company now plans to build the same mega constellation around Mars to provide the 1 million future citizens of Mars with space-based internet. Shotwell said the Starlink concept would also create a robust communication link between Mars and Earth, providing an interplanetary internet bridge. This ambitious satellite plan for Mars is typical of Elon Musk, who is spending big money on creating the rockets and spaceships required to get people to Mars.
SpaceX's famous CEO, Elon Musk, plans to have established a functioning city on Mars by 2050, and here's how he plans to do it. Mars and Earth align every 2 years, making the time before these alignment periods the obvious launch windows for missions to Mars. Musk said in various news conferences that he plans to send 2 unmanned SpaceX Starships to Mars during the next launch window, which would be in 2022. These first 2 autonomous cargo-carrying spacecraft will carry up to 100 tons of power, mining, and life support equipment. If this mission is successful, the plan is to use the next launch window in 2024 to send 2 Starships with human pioneers and another 2 cargo-carrying Starships. Musk said this first human mission would not be relaxing at all, as all future missions would depend on the success of what these pioneers can accomplish. These first Mars pioneers would have to deploy all the hardware, establish temporary survival shelters, and set up a rocket fuel production factory. Establishing this rocket fuel factory would be difficult under the harsh conditions, but it would be crucial as it is the only guarantee for the astronauts to return home alive. The factory would use Mars's frozen water and the carbon dioxide molecules that dominate the planet's very thin atmosphere to create methane and liquid oxygen, aka rocket fuel. If this very vital first human mission is successful, the next step would be to build more permanent habitats, greenhouses, and life support systems. After that, the plan is to focus on growth and rapid expansion from a village to a town to a full Martian city and eventually to multiple Martian cities. 2026 should then see the launch of a large number of human-carrying starships. Soon after that, Musk envisions seeing thousands of starships with thousands of people launched to Mars during every launch window. The surface of Mars is bone dry and seemingly devoid of life. But experts have long speculated that life could exist on Mars in water under the surface. In 2018, they found evidence of one lake at the Martian South Pole. Now, a new study has found an entire cluster of lakes. Here is what they discovered. Scientists have found a network of salty liquid water lakes on Mars beneath the planet's south pole, according to new research published Monday in the journal Nature Astronomy. An international team examined radar data from MARSIS, short for Mars Advanced Radar for Subsurface and Ionosphere Sounding. This instrument on the Mars Express orbiter bounces radio waves off the surface and measures their echoes to image geological structures. 2 years ago, these investigations revealed a subglacial lake 1.5 kilometers below the surface. The lake is in a region called Ultimi Scopuli near the red planet's south pole and measures about 20 kilometers across. Further investigations and analysis of new data from Mars Express have found 3 additional salty lakes, each a few kilometers wide. Because Mars lacks a substantial atmosphere, the resulting low pressure on the planet's surface makes it impossible for liquid water to form. But the planet had seas and lakes billions of years ago, and liquid water could still exist under the surface. This water would likely be saturated with salts, which would keep it liquid at temperatures as low as 150 degrees Kelvin. Life exists in subglacial lakes on Earth, like Lake Vostok in Antarctica, so these Martian lakes could harbor remnants of life that evolved when the planet had a more hospitable climate and liquid water on the surface. This new study comes just a few weeks after scientists reported finding potential signs of life in the clouds of Venus. The United Arab Emirates is preparing to go to Mars. The UAE is planning to build a $136 million city here on Earth called Mars Science City, which consists of interconnected dome structures that will span 1.9 million square feet. According to Popular Science, the city will be used by engineers to prototype future Mars building materials and construction techniques. It will also house labs that can simulate various parts of Mars's environment. Researchers will practice several methods of farming on light resources as Mars lacks water and nutritious soil. Waste and water recycling methods will also be tested. With Mars radiation being stronger than on Earth, the domes will be used to test material that can block solar radiation. The dome city will also be able to filter in more or less sunlight, possibly to better mirror Mars time. The UAE plans to have a team of people to live in the city for a year to develop strategies for surviving long-term on the red planet. Besides laboratories, the proposed city will also contain a museum dedicated to space achievements.
For more news animations and explainers, hit the subscribe and bell button to join the TomoNews family. Thanks for watching.